It's the radio guy, Dr. Mike Prince, and we are fortunate to have on the line with us our football guru, and it's none other than Coach Heist Northern. Coach, how you doing today, my friend?
Everything going pretty good. Got up and got me a little exercise in and getting ready to do a couple things for the wife around the house, so it's a good day for me.
A good day, and look, man, what a Labor Day classic. I did my post-game show, and I said, man, I'm too old for this kind of stuff, Coach. I'm getting too old for this kind of stuff. But exciting from start to finish, just like in anything, it was peaks and valleys. But what was your analysis of this 38th annual Labor Day Classic?
Like I say, a classic it was, and not just because it was on Labor Day, but it was one of those good old, as can be expected, crosstown rivalry games, you know. I know the Texas Southern fans are disappointed, and the Prairie View fans may be overconfident, but that's the way it's supposed to be in a game like that. You know, it's come down to the last second. I think I predicted the score was going to be like 35-32, or you know, somewhere along those lines, a 2-point game. But it was a good one, back and forth. Both teams missed some opportunities, especially early in the ball game, where they could have, not say put the game out of reach, but make it very hard for the other team to come back. I'll tell you this, I was, especially in the first part of the game, I was standing up by a guy, with a guy with some NFL ties. And after a couple throws that Biden missed, he was like, you know, it's like they really, Texas Southern should have had 28 points, and I think at the time they only had 3 on the board from some missed throws. Then he also came back. I think Prairie View had a chance and missed the interception, which if they would have got their hands on that ball, that guy would have scored. And Prairie View's quarterback missed a wide-open throw that would have given them more points than they had at the half. So it was one of those, you know, missed opportunities. I know when both of them go back and look at the film and see some of the guys that they missed open, or where it was one guy maybe in the run blocking scheme that made the tackle that shouldn't have. You know, at times Texas Southern was only rushing 3 people and getting pressure on the quarterback. It was you know, those types of things that, like I say, missed opportunities when you look back at it. When you lose a game by 2 or 3 points, or even if you win by 2 or 3 points, that it gives you some good opportunity to talk to the guys about, hey, what could have been. And it's going to sound better at Prairie View than it is at Texas Southern this week.
Yes, sir. And when you look at it, as well as these guys played, even though it was the first game, you got some miscues, which is expected. You hate that someone had to lose this game, and that's just the way, you know, this business is. There's a winner and there's a loser, and moral victories don't count, especially when you start looking at coaches, extensions, and this, that, and the other. So it's unfortunate in that matter. But as you mentioned, anything can happen in a game such as this. If you're on the losing side or the winning side, what is your message to your team after a game like that, Coach?
It is in the rearview mirror, to be honest with you. And I've said it plenty of times before, you can't let the same team beat you twice. In a rivalry game, it's hard not to let, if you're on Texas Southern side this week, it's hard not to let Prairie View beat you twice, because you're still thinking about what coulda, woulda, shoulda in the fourth quarter. Third quarter, we up 17. At the same time, if you Prairie View now, your guys are on campus, they walking around, getting patted on the back, getting extra food in the cafeteria, got a new girlfriend in class that all of a sudden she started liking you. You know, you got that going on. So you still have to bring those guys down and try to stay as even keel as possible. Like I said, you let them celebrate Sunday, and when they come back in on Monday, it's got to be on to the next week's opponent.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And it's a tall order in particular for Texas Southern. They're going to take on Toledo, which is a Group 5 program. And let's be honest, that is that money game for Texas Southern. And in Prairie View's case, they're going to be hosting Abilene Christian. Now, Abilene Christian, I believe Prairie View let off the hook last year. on a couple of questionable decisions, but that's water under the bridge right now. This should be a good rebound for both programs, but in particular, I'm focused on Prairie View right now, being that they're going to be at home.
Yes, I think they're going to go into the game. Like I said, you can ride that momentum, but momentum is only going to take you so far. Sooner or later, you got to get back down to the nuts and bolts of the game plan and make sure you execute. And there's going to be some guys that played at Prairie View last year. They're going to say, hey, we let them off the hook with a couple miscues here. Now we got to take advantage of what we have at hand. And also as a SWAC school, you want to be able to win those out-of-conference games, especially when you're playing them at home. You want to be able to say, hey, we beat such and such out of this conference a few years down the line and go from there with it. But I think Prairie View is definitely going to think that they let them off the hook last year. Also, Toledo is coming to this game. They just went up and lost to Illinois in a close game. I think it was like 30-28, something along those lines, 31-29, something along those lines. So Toledo is going to come back to their place, and they're going to be pretty hungry to right some wrongs. They've always been a pretty good offensive team up there at Toledo. Now, they're going to say, hey, we have a chance to play against someone that in their mind is subpar. The good thing about it, if I'm Texas Southern, Toledo may still be thinking a little bit about the one that they let get away. And also they think, okay, we're playing against a subpar team in their mind. And if you get in there early and make some plays against them and give yourself a fighting chance, I think that's going to be able to help Texas Southern a little bit. Now, Texas Southern, they got some jokers out there, man. When I'm standing on the sideline and looking at those receivers out there,
yes,
man, goodness gracious, man, those jokers look like receivers. They don't look like anything else but receivers. And they made some plays, especially in some one-on-one matchups, in some of the zone matchups. And then they dropped a couple balls, but when it's a one-on-one, especially on the outside, those jokers made some plays for Texas Southern.
Yes, sir. Now, one thing that I did kind of like on Prairie View's side, on that defensive front, they were rotating those guys, and they appear to have some pretty good depth this season, Coach.
Yeah, now they're not the biggest team. I'll tell you that. Like I say, that's when I go to, especially when I'm on the sideline and I'm looking at the size of Texas Southern offensive line versus Prairie View's defensive line side. Now, Prairie View, they pressured body a whole lot. Now, a lot of times they just couldn't finish the play. And another thing, people don't realize when a game is on TV, it's not going to be as many holding penalties. I mean, there was some guys Prairie View probably need to send Texas Southern a money order for some new jerseys that they need, because guys are getting pulled down. And like I say, that's just me being honest. But they were undersized, but they rotated a lot of guys, and they brought some pressure with the linebackers as well. So they did a good job of staying after body for the whole game. So they did rotate a lot of guys, but that's something you have to do, especially when you're playing against a quarterback as active as he is, and he kept plays alive because he would just slide to one side, scramble a little bit, and find somebody downfield. That's what keeps a lot of their plays going. We call it throwing on and off schedule. His on schedule throws, being honest, left a lot to be desired, especially when Prairie View was playing zone. His off schedule, where he's scrambling around a little bit and finding people open, his off schedule stuff is pretty good, but his on schedule throwing was not very good in my opinion. If Prairie View was playing zone, if they were playing man, like I say, he just threw it up to them frisbee catchers and let them do their thing.
Absolutely, that's why you get them, right? Them 50-50 balls have become so prevalent, especially in today's game. Now, of course, we talked about Prairie View and Texas Southern, and all games were important in the conference, but there were two other games, Coach, that in particular stood out. One was a shocker to me. One was not such of a shocker. And the one that was a shocker was Southern losing to Alabama State by the score of 14-10. Speaking with some people from Baton Rouge, a lot of expectations on Coach Dooley and his staff, and this was not a good way to start things out.
Yeah, like I said, I'll be honest with you, I hadn't really talked to many people at home about the game. I ran into a guy yesterday, and his biggest thing was, he was talking about just the turnovers and the turnover battle that Southern ended up coming on the short end of. But, I'm pretty sure they expected, just because they Southern University, to go in and win that football game. But that's, like I said, you got to play it on the field. And, they just didn't execute in crucial situations. They got off to a good start, and then it just looked like they stalled. And I mentioned that Alabama State defense was going to be pretty stout. And lo and behold, they did play a good football game.
Now, I actually had Alabama State, and like I say, one game doesn't make an entire season, but I got them finishing second behind FAMU out of the East this year, and people kind of looked at me like I fell off Planet X or whatever, but that's just, the way I was summing it up. And what's ironic about this, and it leads us to this next game, and we're kind of, I guess, ping-pong back and forth between Jackson and Southern, but Jackson got their hats handed to them by FAMU on Sunday. It was not a lot to be desired. Maybe they were so emotionally coming out the gate that they left their emotions back in Atlanta. How did you see that game?
Well, I think if you look at it, Florida A&M ran the opening kickoff back, and I'm thinking in the mind of a Jackson State player, they probably never felt like they were out of the game, and it's like, okay, we're going to make this run. And it never did really happen. They moved the ball, had a turnover or two here, and then once Florida A&M got the ball back, they made, if you think about it, they were, 28-0 at the half and didn't score again. It was one of those, let's sort of hold on to victory, maybe play not to lose, make sure we don't lose this game instead of just sort of keep pounding and keep on trying to make plays to expand your lead. But I think Jackson just may have left a little bit too much from the South Carolina State game linger in terms of either the preparation or the attention to detail. Then you also have to think they've been having success against Florida A&M for a very long time. So a lot of times you got to think of the mentality of, no matter what the score is, we're going to come back and win this game. And it just didn't happen for them. That quarterback didn't play as well. Now, Florida A&M's D-line had a lot to do with that, but they just couldn't overcome that early jump out to a lead, what happened to them. And like I say, a lot of times that goes back to the mentality. You are dealing with 18 to 22, 23-year-old guys. And sometimes, like I say, they think they're invincible. They think we got it. And once you let your opponent think they have a chance to win, it's hard to not to take that back away from them once they get in their mind, hey, man, we can win this game.
Yes, sir. Now, the two matchups, and this is a game that is going to be must-see TV, at least to me, and that's Jackson State and Southern this year. This weekend coming up. Both of these guys coming off of disappointing losses, and the great expectations that are from both programs, fan base, coaching staff, and just historical connection, not just to the SWAC, but to football in general. Who do you think is coming in this game with the most pressure, and why?
I think you have to say the Jaguars. Number one, they playing at home. That's the biggest thing. Also, too, you have to think about the expectations of being the Western Conference representative. Now, I'm not sure if this is a conference game or not, but at the end of the day, the Jaguars are playing at home. Also, it's going to be a lot of other things going on. It's, 1993, Southern won the SWAC championship. the 2003 team will be honored as well. So it's gonna be a lot of former guys there. So that's gonna add a little bit to it. Not necessarily for the players, but all of that happening, and then you playing against a school that's 2.5 hours. I think both of those fan bases are the same. If you take Southern, Jackson State, and FAMU and put them in a bottle and pull them out, they all gonna think the same about. Number one, they're gonna think the same about their school, and they're gonna think the same about any sports team they have, whether it's football, baseball, basketball, jack, spades, you name it. They think they're going to be the best at it. So, and it's always the coach's fault when they don't win in those particular, whatever the endeavor is. But I think it's going to be I'm actually going to the Southern Jackson State game. So I think it's going to be a great environment. I can't wait to get down there. I know my kids are looking forward to it. It's going to be great.
Yes, sir. It's going to be great. And I always summarize Southern and Jackson fan base in that of the Dallas Cowboys. They can't see any error of their team's way, and everybody else is just hating on them, and everybody else needs to kick rocks. But I always put them in that category. Am I off on that one, Coach?
Man, I'm gonna say a little bit because I'm not a big Cowboys fan. I have some Cowboys fans.
Neither am I. Hey, but them Cowboy fans are something else, man.
Hey, they are. So let me tell you something, Mike. We were talking. I don't know who I was talking to the other day, but we were talking about how much the Jackson and Southern fans were. So I want to say it was my junior year when I was playing at Southern. After the game, we had to walk back across the practice field and across the parking lot to the dome on campus where our full-time locker rooms were. And we lost that game by a few points, and I'll never forget that. So I'm walking behind this lady from Jackson State. Now, I mean, I can see boots, blue jean outfit, dressed to the T or whatever. And she dropped her pom-poms on the ground. And I say, "Excuse me, ma'am, you dropped your pom-poms." And she say, "Oh yeah, those mine." She say, "Oh, that's so nice of you." She said, "I didn't think you would be that nice after the way we kicked our bleep." You know what I'm saying? So in my mind, that was the funniest thing. And I guarantee this lady probably was 60 years old at the time. But she said, "Yeah, after the way we kicked our bleep, I didn't think you would be that nice." So it's like that sums up Jackson and Southern right there. But I love that rivalry. Because when we played them when I was in school, it was always close. They love their school, but Southern and Jackson is the same. They don't want to admit it, but they are the same.
Yeah, well, a lot of people say that Southern and Grambling is the rivalry, and it is an intense rivalry, but I think it's a little bit more tension between Southern and Jackson.
Yes, and the thing about it, Southern and Jackson is actually closer than Southern and Grambling, but the ties with Eddie Robinson being born and raised in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, then going up to Grambling. Prez Jones had ties to Southern University. He was a long-time president at Grambling State University. So it's all those ties and then it's interstate versus, even though the rivalry is there, it's, different states. To me, when I was in school, because of the games and the magnitude of the games, I always felt like Jackson and Alcorn was my biggest rival when I was playing at Southern, because I was at Southern 5 years, and I think we were 4-1. But if I look back at my record against Jackson State and Alcorn, it may have been more like 2-3, 3-2, something along those lines. So that's why and it was always something on the line when we played against a Jackson or Alcorn back in those days.
Okay, I'm going to put you on the spot again, Coach. Which was the most hostile place for you to play in?
Oh, man, most hostile. I would have to say Jackson, just because of the amount of people, especially and it was full when we played in both places. But I think just the amount of people, because you can get 6,000 or 7,000 in Jackson. Like I say, in 1993, that was a real big one. We went up there and played them. In 1995, the SWAC championship was on the line when we played. Like I say, that was my only loss my senior year to Jackson. But it was a great environment. Now, the thing I like about Alcorn, the very first game I ever started in college was against Alcorn when they had Steve McNair, and also one of the biggest plays of my life. The year we won the championship, I had an interception at the end of the game versus McNair that fits the game for us in Baton Rouge, and that was, like I said, I'll never forget that, man. I had a job the next summer, and people at my job was like, "Man, you that guy?" He was like, "Oh, you the one that got that interception at the end of the game." And man, I was walking around like a peacock around there. You couldn't tell me nothing for a couple of days. So, but it's some big rivals, in that area, just because of the location, but and the distance between those schools. But it's a big place. It's gonna be good this weekend. And I'm gonna just enjoy the environment, and somebody gonna go home. Boy, it's gonna be some noise talking. I'm looking forward to it. I know it's gonna be some good smack being talked. I was telling my daddy, man, it ain't gonna be a bottle of Crown Royal or a rack of ribs or chicken wing nowhere in Baton Rouge. And then you got to think about it. LSU and Grambling are playing in town this weekend as well. So, like I say, it ain't gonna be nothing to drink and no tailgating food nowhere in Baton Rouge.
I know that's right. You brought up Steve McNair, and I'm recalling when he came on the yard, played against Prairie View, of course, and all this jumping out with 357 yards, and he threw about 5 or 6 touchdowns, and we still had a whole nother quarter to play.
Hey, man, I didn't feel bad because when my brother was, I want to say my brother's rookie year in the NFL, Steve was playing for the Tennessee Titans, who at the time they were playing maybe in Memphis, somewhere in Tennessee. I just remember driving from Atlanta to go to the game, and I'm watching Steve run around against Bruce Smith, Bryce Pop, those guys, and he was making plays on NFL guys. So I didn't feel bad what he had done to us at Southern University, to be honest.
Well, it's one of those deals, of course he had a tragic ending. But do you think he should be in the Hall of Fame?
I think so. It's going to be tough just because they didn't get that Super Bowl, and there's going to be some guys with lesser stats that's going to get in because they have a Super Bowl by their name.
Well, so all I can think of is Dan Marino. Dan Marino never won a Super Bowl. But what Steve McNair did.
At the time when Dan left the NFL, he had a lot of the passing marks. Well, Steve might not rank up there with the passing marks, but number one, that joker was a winner. That's the number one thing. Quarterback, right. He was a winner, and he was clutch, and he played with bruised and broken ribs and high ankle sprains. You name it, he played with it. So. I think through it. Eventually, I think he's going to get there, but I think it's going to take a bit of time. And now with all these guys that's playing in the easier to throw the ball NFL, I think some of these guys going to have numbers that when you look at the end of their career, you're going to be like, oh, he didn't have this guy's number. Where it's a different era of football. But the one that disappointed me for a long time, and because I knew his family, was Ken Riley, senior, just getting in the NFL, who at the time, I think he still may be 5th all-time in interception, but because he didn't have the Riley Island and all those different nicknames, he just was consistent. I think eventually, and, it's going down a little rabbit hole, but I think Everson Walls needs to be, played with the Cowboys for a long time from Grambling State University. I think he deserves to be in the NFL Hall of Fame. Well,
while we're name dropping, Otis Taylor, who set all kind of records, and unfortunately he just recently passed on us, but he should be in the Hall of Fame. But, I guess they'll finally figure out a way to rectify that. But when you look at these guys, go ahead.
Yeah, I think they're going to try with the way they're doing it with the Veterans Committee, but, a lot of this stuff is still going to be political. At the end of the day, but I think they're going to rectify some of those guys who may have, when their career ended, if you put their numbers to now, like if you're a defensive back now, it's easy to get interceptions because you got to remember back in those days, people wasn't hardly throwing the ball unless it was third down. So now jokers coming out on first down. Maybe if they don't compete, you'll get a run. Now they pass it on first and third down. Or some teams pass the first, second, and third down with the RPO stuff, you know.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, and look, I'm still trying to get over this spread shotgun at the goal line. Man, I'm still shaking my head on that, Coach. But I won't be the old man get off my lawn today. But a lot of historical game-changing athletes that have come through this beloved conference that we are so enamored with, and there's going to be a lot more coming down the road. But it's just good to kind of reflect, and it's good to get your insights on how this thing is going. So, if I were to dub you who the game of the week would be, I think I know who it is. Who's the game of the week out of the conference, Coach?
Well, I'm gonna have to go with the Southern Jackson game. That's gonna be the game of HBCU football, in my opinion. You know, anytime they play, whether it would have been the first week, last week, anytime those two play, and no matter where they play, it's gonna be a big game. Like I say, just because of the two schools, the fan base, the distance between them, I think that's gonna be it's gonna be a great place to be. Like I say, you can hear it, and like I say, it is a literal buzz in the air walking into that stadium when a good Jackson team is coming into the stadium, or a good Alcorn team is coming into that stadium. It's going to be a sight to see come Saturday.
No doubt about it. And, Coach, I'm sure that you'll get you. I'm going to keep messing with you until the season over. You get them beer burgers, get them right, and we'll come talk about this thing all over again next week. All right, Coach?
We will do.
All right, Coach Heist, Northern football guru for the Open Mic Broadcast Network. I'm the radio guy, Dr. Mike Prince. Don't forget, you can follow me on X. I got it right this week, Coach. And we're going to, you can subscribe to the YouTube channel at the Open Mic Broadcast Network. And until the next time, you guys be blessed, and we'll see you on the other side.